On Thursday night, the Detroit Pistons and Oklahoma City Thunder faced off. I looked over the schedule of preseason games for the night and decided this was the main game that I wanted to watch. It was the second game for both teams, and I wanted to see Chet Holmgren's performance after his 21-point debut, as well as Ausar Thompson, the rookie who does it all for the Pistons and played a staggering 38 minutes in his debut. But it wasn't these two who really stood out the most. Don't get me wrong. Both guys had some impressive plays, but it was the play of two guys labeled as busts who surprised me. It was a tale of two halves in this game. I really liked what I saw from Killian Hayes in the first three quarters, and from James Wiseman in the second half. The Pistons entered the second half down 58-74, a 16-point deficit that, like they did in their first game against the Suns, they would come all the way back from. But unlike the first game, they would win this one. The Thunder's offense from their starting unit is actually ridiculous, and I thought about making them the topic of today's video. As was proven by Lu Dort's 24 points today, every one of their starters can score at a high level, but it was the Pistons bench guys that led them all the way back to victory. There were 4 players off the bench who scored at least 13 points for Detroit. That's very unusual to say the least, and they have a lot more talent throughout the roster than most people would think. Marvin Bagley was also solid, albeit not super aggressive, but is another guy who is labeled a bust that's been playing well for Detroit. He put up 25 points against the Suns. The Detroit Pistons are turning busts into good players. Now let's take a deeper look at the 5 most impressive players for the Pistons in today's game. Before we get into the Pistons' extremely impressive developmental program, if you enjoy my content and watch a few videos of mine, think about subscribing. 96% of my viewers are actually not subscribed, so if you watched it before and enjoy the content, drop a sub and comment down below. It really helps the channel. Although he probably wasn't the best player in today's game, I want to start off with Killian Hayes. The former 7th overall pick is entering his 4th season in the league now, but over the first 3 years he's gotten a lot of hate and is likely the most featured player on Brick Muse, a hate-driven NBA Twitter page that posts poor stat lines. In doing the research for this video, I even saw an opinion piece from the Pistons SB Nation fan site simply titled "Killian Hayes is bad at basketball," but I really liked what I saw from him in Thursday's game. He finished with 16 points, 4 assists, and shot 54% from the field. And although he shot just 1 of 5 from 3, I think it's clear the shooting has improved. The jumper looks very fluid, and he's much more confident in taking it than in years past. He continues to be a very good passer and defender, but the improved offense we saw in this game could make him a very solid all-around player. The second player I want to talk about is James Wiseman. After being selected with the 2nd overall pick in 2020 by the Warriors, he was never really given a chance and labeled a massive bust. The team dealt him to Detroit at last season's deadline. I made a couple of complimentary videos in the latter half of last season about him, because I loved what I saw with the Pistons, and it looks like he's carrying that into this season as well, if not just being even better. Wiseman was absolutely unconscious tonight, and was arguably the biggest reason why they won this game. He finished with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and didn't miss a single shot. Over half of his points came in the 4th quarter, when the team was making its comeback. He led the team in both points and rebounds. Props to Wiseman. He's making a very good case to be in the team's rotation this season, if not the starting lineup at times. Then we should talk about rookie Marcus Sasser. Outside of Wiseman, I'd say he was most responsible for the team's comeback. Many of you will remember the 40-point game he had in Summer League, which was the highest scoring game there this year. I think it's fair to say he's just a great scorer, and at the 25th pick in this year's draft, he looks like a steal, which is funny because many people called it a reach at the time. In Thursday's game, he finished with 17 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. He's not just a scorer, but a solid facilitator as well. With Killian and Sasser, the team has a really solid backcourt coming off the bench. The 4th guy that deserves some love is Stanley Umude, who you likely won't know, but this dude is a sniper, and his shooting was super impactful in the game. He not only could shoot it, but also do it in the clutch, as he hit a massive 30-footer with a minute and a half to play. It put the team up 1. If he had missed it, it would have made a victory extremely difficult. He actually hit a clutch shot against the Suns as well. He shot 4 of 5 from 3 for the game. He reminds me a lot of someone on the other team, Isaiah Joe, and although they never played together, they did both go to Arkansas. Umude's play over the team's first 2 games has likely earned him a roster spot, and the much-needed spacing he provides could get him real minutes this year. Finally, the 5th player that stood out in tonight's game was Ausar Thompson. The rookie continued to do a little bit of everything for the Pistons, as he did in Summer League and his preseason debut. He finished with 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks. The 2 of 10 shooting from the field wasn't great, but his impact goes beyond the box score. He was the only starter with a positive plus-minus, and despite picking up his 5th foul early in the 3rd quarter, he played 14 consecutive minutes without picking up a 6th one, and ended up fouling out with only 13 seconds remaining. The main takeaway for me from this game was the impressive development of the so-called former Buss. It was a very positive game from Killian Hayes, who just looked like a much different player than we've seen in the past. James Wiseman was the best player in this game, and it was about as perfect of a game that you could have asked for. Despite only getting up 5 shots, Marvin Bagley was also impressive, with most of his play coming in the first half. He had 9 points, 7 rebounds, and made 4 of his 5 shots. The Pistons are turning these busts into good players. Thanks for watching. I'm Herm. Have a good one.